a personality shaped by being an athlete and a background in mainstream sports media, I found that the stories I was most interested in telling were the ones often overlooked, the ones that might not otherwise be told, the ones that show the intangible and not just the highlight reel. The Sports Council is about highlighting the great, the good, the unique, and everything in between in the Pacific Northwest sports world. I'm Jamie Council. Thanks for joining me.
You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, the Tri-Cities leader in sports.
You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. I'm Jamie Council, and this week we're talking baseball. It's a WIAA state championships this weekend, and next week is the 5th Annual Columbia Basin Series happening at Richland High School, and we're joined by Jason Jarrett, head coach for Tri-Cities Prep. You're feeling the pressure a little bit right now.
A little bit. It's a lot happening, Jamie. It's just the busiest time of the year. You know, it's like you run through seasons and you're coming through one and going through another. And it's just like, holy cow, here we go.
So we have a lot to cover, but first let's start with the Jaguars. Tri-Cities Prep, back-to-back state champions, and you guys are in the Final Four playing a SOTN. That's an exciting time. What does this season look like for you guys to get to this point?
Hard work, you know, this is what happens when you put everything into it. You know, I mean, when you put every effort of your time and you're intentional with what you do, good return comes. And, you know, this is what we've always been about at Tri-City Prep. We're coaching fundamental baseball. We do it right. Yes, it's hard. Sometimes it's boring to the point where you're doing it over and over and over, but the results show in the outcome of what we're taking place, you know, coming into the Final Four. So it's exciting, and you know, it's a great thing. It's like I told our players the other day, is like the best thing about coaching young men and women is the fact that the memories they get to make that nobody will ever be able to take away from them. What I mean by that, you know, how many players could ever say, you know, I went to the state Final Four 3 years in a row? I mean, it's very rare, even for a team to get into the Final Four and maybe that 4-year span. But for, like, I think about our freshmen, you know, this is all they ever know, but it's what takes place when you put a lot of effort and time and just your dedication to it.
And for this tournament specifically, you guys had a close one in the opening rounds and then beat Colfax 5-1. So what's been the ups and the downs of this tournament where you guys only won by one in the opening round?
Well, you got the Okanagan game 1-0 with a walk-off and extras. I think biggest part is overthinking it, right? Trying to do too much, trying to hit the longer ball instead of, you know, keeping behind it and going for gap-to-gap line drives. Just over, you know, again, just it's overthinking. It's, you know, you're dealing with young men that are trying to understand the realities of life. And sometimes as people, we can overthink. And that's what I love about baseball. It so much correlates to life, you know, and everything's not always going to work out the way it is or the results you're going to get, but you stay persistent with it. But also sometimes we can overthink things to saying, hey, it's pretty simple conclusion if we just go this route, you know. So we've had some close ones, but yeah, when we can kind of hone our guys down and kind of just take away a little bit of that anxiety, I would say, because a lot of times we can put a lot of extra additional pressures on ourselves that we don't necessarily need to worry about. You know, we've been here before. We know what to expect, you know, so it's just keeping it simple. You know, the KISS metaphor, you know, keep it simple, stupid, that, you know, we have to remind ourselves, and it's self-talk. You know, whatever you think into your mind and put out with your mouth is the way you are as a human being. And so you just, if you can simplify it and say, hey, we need one run per inning, you're going to put yourself in a way better outcome, supposed to saying, hey, I need to be the guy to do it all.
Absolutely. So again, we're catching up with Jason Jarrett, head coach for Tri-Cities Prep, the Jags back-to-back state champions, a number 1 seed, 6-5 in the opening round to Toutle Lake, the 16 seed, and then beat number 9 Colfax 5-1, play Asotin on Friday at 7 o'clock in the state semifinals. Jason, you've done it the past 2 years. What is it going to take this year? Hoping to play at 7 o'clock this Saturday for 2B state championship.
Well, it's going to just take, the right mindset. Playing baseball without any mistakes. That's what I'm saying. It's just keeping it a simple game of baseball. You get a guy on, you move him over. You got a guy on second and third that's ducks on the pond ready to score. So you implement 1 run per inning. Jamie, you add that up. What is that? 7 innings of ball, 7 runs. Typical teams don't score more than 7 runs in a game. You're going to put yourself in a really, really good situation. But, it's just being appreciative. I think, enjoying it. The fact that we're in the Final Four is a huge accomplishment for any team. Just airless ball and attacking the strike zone and just being extremely, sitting on the pitch that we want to hit and just doing everything the way we've been practicing all along, or playing as well all along this season.
So best of luck this weekend. And then we're also looking forward to next Wednesday, the 5th Annual Columbia Basin Series. And that's an all-star baseball game, the best of the Tri-Cities taking on the best of Yakima to try to earn a spot on the all-state baseball team. That's the best seniors from around the state, happening 3rd week of June. So just tell me a little bit about the Columbia Basin Series as you're juggling multiple things.
Yeah, I can't believe we're in the 5th year with Grant and I running the Columbia Basin Series, and the thing that, him and I have worked so well running this thing. It's great. And I love the community support that we're getting out of it. It's a little bit of, it's a hassle, right? When you're trying to basically prepare for one other thing, and then you're dealing with the end of your season, then you're gearing up for your summer season. So we have a lot of moving parts, but it's being organized and writing notes down and saying, these are the things I need to do, and staying on task and not allowing my mind to wander or get distracted on the things I need to get done. But it's going to be a great event. I'm looking forward to it. We always have a good outcome of seniors in our area. The Yakima Valley brings a good support. Every year it seems like get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's extremely exciting to see the enjoyment of the athletes. And, being that we're in our 5th year, we're adding some different things this year, for the athletes, some special accolades and awards that they're going to get, which is going to be kind of something cool that we haven't had in the past, So, some of these things are going to make it a little bit more enticing, and the coverage that we're getting from the local community and through, Jamie, what you've done for us and everything else, it helps a lot getting the word out there and then correlating right into that All-State Series in the 3rd week of June. That is something extremely special. I was able to coach that back in 2017, and I know Grant did it here last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember where about that same time, but anyways, it's just a cool opportunity to be doing something with these elite athletes. And when I say elite, these are the guys that the seniors are the best of the state of Washington across, from the west side to the east side, and then being able to put them all in the same dugout. And, we always had this fight, east side versus west, but, people are people, right? In the baseball world, it's extremely small. So be able to see them coordinate together. And Jesse and Brian do a phenomenal job of running that All-State Series and what they've been able to continue to do over the years. So it's going to be a great month of June. I'll just say that.
Absolutely. A lot of players that move on to play at the next level, and it's fun
Absolutely.
to see them take the field all at one time. And let's go over some of the details for this event. So June 4th, first pitch at 5:30. There will be food trucks, Blooming Coffee Co., as well as Doggy Style Gourmet will be there. And the event is free to the public.
Absolutely. Yeah, which is huge, right? So, you can go and enjoy an evening of good, fast pace, I'd say, baseball. I think we average 9-inning game in about 2.5 hours. I don't think we even exceeded over that 3-hour mark at all at any point. So it's fast, it's exciting, it's a a lot of great plays, a lot of good pitchers, a lot of big hits. I think here a few years ago we had like back-to-back home runs. Was it a back-to-back-to-back? I can't remember the details, but that was pretty cool. So we've had some really neat things that take place for it. We'll actually have also some Columbia Basin Series swag for sale. So people, if want to buy a hat or a T-shirt or a sweatshirt, you can do that. And so and of course, it's just a really fun event. We feed the kids after the game, and we just make it a pro style type of an event. So, we want them to feel special about what they have been able to accomplish over the last 4 years.
And the event will also be streamed on the NFHS Sports Network. Jason, good luck this weekend, and we'll see you next week for the 5th Annual Columbia Basin Series.
Thank you, Jamie.
Krispy Kreme is bringing back sweet nostalgia with the Pac-Man Retro Collection. Your favorite yellow Ghostbuster has taken over our donuts now through June 1st. Hurry in before it's game over. And don't miss our Strawberry Glazed Original, only May 24th through the 26th, one weekend only. Still fundraising? We're taking orders now. Plus, ask in-store how to download the Krispy Kreme app and stay updated with the latest treats. That's your local Krispy Kreme, 2805 Dupertail in Richland. Come in with a sweet tooth, leave with a smile.
Inconveniences can happen at, inconvenient times. JRT Mechanical has plumbers and HVAC technicians available 24/7 if an emergency does arise. Or if you feel like your house isn't cooling like it used to, or if you're tired of a hose leaking from last winter's freeze, JRT is an honest, reliable company that's been in the Pacific Northwest for more than 3 decades. Give JRT Mechanical a call at 509-314-4314 or visit jrtmechanical.com.
If you've got a winery, brewery, or dairy, why buy industrial parts and supplies from across the country? Central Industrial Sales is your local source for supplies and equipment for the dairy, food processing, winery, and brewing industries. We specialize in custom fabrication, industrial cleaning equipment, sanitary fittings, valves, pumps, chemicals, and many other supplies. Everything's available through our website, by phone, or by dropping by our office. Call 509-375-4032 or find us at centralindustrialsales.com.
You're listening to Jamie Council on the Sports Council.
Welcome back to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. Well, we just caught up with Jason Jarrett talking about the Columbia Basin Series next Wednesday, June 4th, 5:30 at Richland High School. And now we're joined by Jesse Benedetti, the All-State Game Director, but also has a hand in the Columbia Basin Series. So, Jesse, you've been involved in everything. Tell me what the Columbia Basin Series is.
Well, basically, we've combined 2 different feeder games. So we have 15 senior all-star games around the state that we call feeder games, and we just combined 2 of them. So we took the one out of kind of Yakima that includes the Big 9, the SCAC, and the CWAC on our side, and then we join up and play the Tri-City crew, which is their feeder game. So we end up getting 2 feeder games done at one point in time, and it's become a little bit of a rivalry that way.
Exactly. It's more fun for the fans because you, 1, don't often get to see the best of Tri-Cities against the best of Yakima, and 2, it's a lot of fun for the players to be able to suit up with the best from their rival teams during season. And when you talk about feeder games, I don't think a lot of people realize that this is a part of the all-state baseball, which is the best from around the state.
Oh, yes. There's 15 of them. And we get, out of those, I think we get 17 top 10 lists. So 170 seniors get nominated, and the all-state game takes somewhere between 70 to 75 seniors for 4 games, and on this year, June 21st and 22nd. But it gives kind of a stepping stone. So the seniors get to play locally first, and then those nominated might get the opportunity to play in the big one in Yakima.
And why does all-state baseball exist?
Oh, man. Well, it's an awesome way to recognize the players and coaches throughout the state. It used to be done, I bet, for 30 years at Eastmont High School. Dan White ran it. And in 2007, the late Pete Orgill and my dad, George Benedetti, brought it to Yakima. and wanted some help, so I helped them, and then they dropped out over the years, and we've been in Yakima since 2007, and it's just a great way to recognize the seniors. They get the fun they have at these games it's just crazy because there's no stress really. They get to meet people they're going to go to college and play with that they've never met before. They're playing against people they might go to college and play with or play against, and it's just a fun atmosphere. The coaches love it. It's a full weekend for coaches. We do a coaches day. We have an awards banquet. It's just a big, all-encompassing weekend recognizing seniors and coaches from around the state.
So that is the All-State Baseball happening June 21st and 22nd in Yakima. But next Wednesday, June 4th, the Columbia Basin Series. Jesse, you've been putting together the rosters. Can you highlight a couple of the players? Because, again, this is the best from Yakima, the best from Tri-Cities, although you deal mainly with the Yakima team.
Yeah. I'm excited because after coaching for so many years at East Valley, there's a couple East Valley kids on that roster with Brody Taylor, Grady Edler, MVP of the Big Nine, Hudson Freeze from West Valley will be joining us. There's a trio from Moses Lake. There's some kids from Eisenhower, Davis. Othello's in the Final Four for 2A, and there's two players from there joining us. Some Sunnyside kids, a Connell student athlete, a Zilla student athlete. So it comes from a wide range of area. But yeah, it's going to be a good group of kids. There's 21 of them on there. Jacob Mortensen from Toppenish will be leading the charge as the coach.
So, and it's fun too, because baseball knows no classifications.
Yeah.
It's a little different than other sports too, where you see a drop because of sheer numbers, but baseball is a little different in that sense. So that's another thing where you're seeing, Natchez Valley, a 1A, and then you see some of the 4A schools, and they're taking the same diamond together.
Yeah, and Tri-City Prep, which is a B school. And I think that's really cool about not just the feeder game, but when we transition the All-State game, the roster with 18 kids will have 1B, 2B, all the way up to 4A, all on the same roster. So I think that's pretty neat.
And then All-State Baseball, I've also seen some of your posts where you track them into college, and it's kind of an ode, even though they're only with All-State Baseball for, a period of 3 weeks, let's say. Yeah. You get to see the best come through the game and to be able to say that, wow, they're doing something at the next level or the next level beyond that, but they took the field for All-State Baseball.
Oh, yeah. And some of these kids you just remember, like there's a kid playing at Tacoma right now that his name's Isaiah Afork, if I'm pronouncing it right. And I remember him because he was cleaning up the dugout after the game when everybody had left. Or we had a kid from, it might have been the Tri-Cities that was in a tryout with the Pittsburgh Pirates on Friday and then flew in Saturday just to play in the games. And you kind of just remember those guys. One kid was a bat boy when his dad was coaching at it, and now is going to UCLA. So you just track these guys and keep up with how they're doing. But yeah, it's neat.
It is really cool. And then you have Danny Dickinson at LSU. And I believe last year I don't know, he might have been in town, but he actually came just to watch and support the Columbia Basin Series. Yeah. Some of the guys that he had suited up with at Kennewick.
Yeah, and we've had kids, when the draft has occurred during the games, we've had kids get drafted during the game. Dan Wilson was there when his son was at the game, and his kid got drafted during the game. And so that's pretty neat stuff.
Absolutely. And I think it was Mason Martin that came back. Yeah.
First at bat, he had a triple off the wall. I remember.
Remember well. So that's so fun that these seniors, even though they're already set for the next level, make a point to be able to take the field with their fellow seniors. And like you said, a fun event for everybody. Jesse, anything else that you want people to know about the Columbia Basin Series or All-State Baseball?
No, just that it'll be streamed. So it's a great way to access the game, watch the game, and see these guys before they go on to the next level. Usually out of the, 75 kids that are rostered up, 70 of them have college scholarships to play baseball. So it's some good baseball, and it's fun to watch. And I encourage people to get on there and stream it if they aren't in town locally.
And where can people find out more information on All-State Baseball?
At allstatebaseball.com. And then the link will be right on the homepage there for people to access streaming it.
So it'll be streamed on NFHS Sports Network. Find out more on allstatebaseball.com, and the Columbia Basin Series next Wednesday at 5:30 at Richland High School, the 5th annual Best of Tri-Cities against the Best of Yakima. Jesse Benedetti, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
When we come back, we'll hear from Grant Richardson, head coach at Richland High School. Just ended his season. We'll talk about the end of the season as well as more on preparations for the Columbia Basin Series. You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports.
Inconveniences can happen at, well, inconvenient times. JRT Mechanical has plumbers and HVAC technicians available 24/7 if an emergency does arise. Or if you feel like your house isn't cooling like it used to, or if you're tired of a hose leaking from last winter's freeze, JRT is an honest, reliable company that's been in the Pacific Northwest for more than 3 decades. Give JRT Mechanical a call at 509-314-4314 or visit jrtmechanical.com.
If you've got a winery, brewery, or dairy, why buy industrial parts and supplies from across the country? Central Industrial Sales is your local source for supplies and equipment for the dairy, food processing, winery, and brewing industries. We specialize in custom fabrication, industrial cleaning equipment, sanitary fittings, valves, pumps, chemicals, and many other supplies. Everything's available through our website, by phone, or by dropping by our office. Call 509-375-4032 or find us at centralindustrialsales.com.
Krispy Kreme is bringing back sweet nostalgia with the Pac-Man Retro Collection. Your favorite yellow Ghostbuster has taken over our donuts now through June 1st. Hurry in before it's game over. And don't miss our Strawberry Glazed Original, only May 24th through the 26th, one weekend only. Still fundraising? We're taking orders now. Plus, ask in-store how to download the Krispy Kreme app and stay updated with the latest treats. That's your local Krispy Kreme, 2805 Dupertail in Richland. Come in with a sweet tooth, leave with a smile.
Listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, the Tri-Cities leader in sports.
Welcome back to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. Well, we're talking Columbia Basin Series, and joining us now is Grant Richardson, head coach at Richland Baseball, and fresh off a season. How are you feeling right now? You guys made it further than a lot of people thought you would.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a numb feeling this week, you know, when other teams are playing, and obviously we had the goals to be playing in the Final Four again, you know, and realistic or not, that's always our goal. And, you know, we knew coming into this season that it was going to be a different group. We lost 11 seniors last year, and we really counted on, you know, we only had 5 seniors this year. We counted on those guys to lead a young group, and they did a heck of a job. I think, like you said, I think we exceeded a lot of people's expectations. It's hard to look at it that way for us because, you know, our expectation is always to be playing in the final game, and you know, we're constantly working to get there, and then, you know, it ends, you know, prematurely, and you're like, darn, man, what, like, I can't believe it's over. But, you know, a lot of good things came out of this year. It was a great group of guys. They battled their tails off. A lot of tough games that they got through and got us to where they did in the final 8 and gave us a chance. Really, we had a chance to you know, tap that Final Four again, and that's all you can ask for is to be put in that position. And you know, sometimes the breaks don't go your way, and that's baseball.
What did you take the most out of this past season? Again, you said it's a little bit of a numb feeling right now, but I guess what did you take most from this past season?
Honestly, just the persistence of the group of guys that we had, and you know, the work ethic that they put in and day out to really achieve, like you said, achieve a standard a lot higher than a lot of people put out for us this year, losing 11 seniors. And so, you know, it's just that growth factor, a lot of great leaders, you know, some young guys got a lot of time this year that I think is going to pay dividends in the future. But it's hard to look at the future when you're kind of dwelling on last weekend. But, you know, you move on, and the next season's going to come, and we got to start looking forward to that.
Exactly. I think that you did have a lot of young players that got a lot of good playing time, and even though it's not quite where you want it to be, ended one round before your goal was, what would you put that you guys could have done better this year? Looking back where you're like, okay, this is what we're going to hammer out, because as soon as the season ends, you're already planning for next year.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on being a pretty good small ball team, and it's one of those things that we just never quite got to the point we wanted to get to this year. We worked on it. We worked on a lot, and we improved, no doubt about it. But again, I think a lot of that comes to experience, and next year I think we're going to be better at that. On the pitching aspect, we gave up too many free passes this year, and we got away with it. More than we should have throughout the season. And that's just another thing that kind of came back to bite us at the end. You can't put your finger, I tell the guys, you can't put your finger on one thing. It wasn't one pitch or one hitter that really came down to it. As a combination of a lot of things that we just didn't quite do well enough to move on to that next level. And that's the stuff that keeps coaches up, because you're like, what could I have done differently to prepare these guys? And that's what keeps me thinking. And us as a staff, like, okay, how can we make sure this doesn't happen again next year? But it's one of the reasons why I love this game so much, is because especially at high school, you just get a different group of guys every year, and you got to figure out a way to get to the top with that group. It doesn't always come in the same shape as the year before. And that's part of the puzzle that we try to put together every year.
I knew that would be a bit of a loaded question, but a good question nonetheless.
Yeah.
So Richland baseball losing to Lake Washington 5-4 last weekend in the Elite Eight to end their season. But it's not the end for the seniors, because we are talking about the Columbia Basin Series, and Richland hosts that event. How did that start, where Richland kind of became the home for now the 5th annual Columbia Basin Series? When I was coaching at Kamiakin High School as an assistant back in 2011, 2012, Ryan Carter, he was in charge of the feeder game. And then when I came over to Richland High School, and we got along really well. And I couldn't tell you what year, 13, 14, 15, that I said, hey, I'll take it over. And we had the Brandon Schmidt from Eastmont High School. We had the idea of kind of putting together a MCC versus a Big Nine All-Star game. And we did that for, 4 years or something. And it was really cool, to be able to put our best against their best, and then after COVID happened, Jason Jarrett and we got together and I wanted to try to, how can we get all the Tri-Cities guys, not just the MCC guys, because there's some good players at the other schools at, Tri-Cities Prep and Liberty Christian and Findlay, Riverview's put together some good teams. And so that's when it kind of became the Basin Series. And Jason, he does a lot of things well, and one of those is promote things. And so he's full of ideas. And so we kind of ran with the Basin Series idea, and Jesse Benedetti has been great over in the Yakima area to help get those teams together. It's unfortunate. I don't think we get Sela guys or this year West Valley guys joining in, but nonetheless, we get some good baseball coming from the Valley and the Tri-Cities area, and try to put together a pretty good baseball game for these seniors one last time. And you guys put so much into this while you're battling and putting everything into your high school season. So it is a bit much, but I think it's safe to say it's important to you. So why is it so important to you to put on this event?
I think Jason and I both kind of are in the standpoint, we just like doing things right, and we want to do right by these seniors who've poured their hearts and soul into high school baseball for their respective teams. And if we can't do it right, we wouldn't do it. And again, when we're making late runs into these playoffs, and Jason's still in it this week, and I'm finally starting to get the roster together, like, okay, like, oh my gosh, I got a week left and I got to get this done. And we're trying to do stuff throughout the year, but obviously the number one focus for us is taking our high school teams as far as we can and trying to do this in the background. But ultimately, there's a lot of good people, such as yourself, that helps put this thing together and make it pretty special for these guys and give them a chance to move on to the All-State Series.
Why should people come watch the 5th annual Columbia Basin Series happening on June 4th?
Well, it's good baseball. You're taking the best of the best, putting them on the field for one game. And honestly, the guys have a blast with it. The game always starts out a lot more serious than it ends. By the end of the game, you got guys playing different positions. Like, hey, I want to play center field. At that point, it's like, let's just have fun. But it's good baseball. You see some good arms. You see some good hitters. There's usually a couple home runs involved, just because we got some big swingers and guys are taking some hacks off some pretty good pitching. And so it's just good entertainment. It's good baseball, and guys are having fun.
Well, Grant, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Again, that is Grant Richardson, head coach of Richland Baseball, also one of the organizers for the Columbia Basin Series and the 5th Annual Columbia Basin Series, happening on June 4th at Richland High School. First pitch set for 5:30. You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. Well, that wraps up this week's show of the Sports Council. Thank you for joining me on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. A reminder, the Sports Council happens 4 times a month, 11:30 a.m. on Thursdays. But you can listen to the show not just over the airwaves at 11:30 on Thursdays, but also on demand at 1340ESPNradio.com via podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, just search for the Sports Council. And it's also available via YouTube. So lots of ways to listen to the Sports Council and support our local sports community. Until next time, I'm Jamie Council. Now we go back to your originally scheduled Seattle sports programming.